gorgeous place to be. I can't think of a better place on the planet to be than here today. And Shelley, thank you for your courage. Something that I don't see demonstrated every day in the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. A stalwart champion. Congratulations on, let's see, what's this, Sunday? On being on the 4th day on the right side of history. And Matt, thank you for sharing this incredible surroundings with us. A beautiful piece of property that employs over 60 people, has a good-sized payroll right here in the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument area, proving that there are going to be great benefits to outdoor recreation in this area, and you have proven that by building from the ground up, and we're enormously proud of what you've done here, and I think that you will show a pathway for others. So congratulations on the success of your business, and thanks for having me. A week, and this is kind of the cherry on top of that Sunday of celebrating the national parks all week. I've been in 6 different states, and more than that in terms of park sites, celebrating the breadth and the depth of our national parks, their historic significance, their natural beauty, their bellwether for climate change, the painful stories that they help us tell so that we can learn from them, but also we can share with the world our journey and the mistakes that we made along the way. So hopefully we can educate not only ourselves and future generations, but others. And I can't think of a better place to be than in this wonderful Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. So, it has been a great couple of days for me. And fortunately, my wardrobe is still barely holding up for 8 days on the road. I began my journey to this area at patronizing a local business in Patton and then visiting Rhonda at the Patton Lumbermen's Museum. And this is a very, very important part of the history of this region, and it's a story that needs to be told. So we welcome a relationship with not only the museum, but with the community to help make sure that that story is interpreted. That's a very, very important part of what the National Park Service does. We had a lovely paddle along the east branch of the Penobscot River, and my able guide in the stern of my boat, of course, Lucas St. Clair. And we went through the rapids, is it the staircase, is that what it's called? I don't even think we took a cup full of water up. I took the microphones off, and we put the cell phones in the dry bag and everything else, and we didn't need it because I had Mr. River guiding my way behind me. Woo! Yes. And you see as you go along that beautiful Penobscot River, and I'll tell you, I was imagining it as my husband and I had enjoyed on a 3-day weekend in Maine last fall, what it would look like with the fall colors. And then talking with a number of folks last night at the Lunksoos camp, what it would look like with a frozen river skiing. And what it would look like as those leaves are beginning to emerge with those brilliant colors of green that are, completely span all the colors out there. And I thought, there's no question this should be a national monument. And that's, yes. Night at the Lunksoos camp, and then I got to crawl into a tent, look at the Milky Way, which was brilliant last night, and then listen to the hooting of the owls as I got up and went to the bathroom twice. A little bit of wine, a little bit of water, 60 years old. This morning, Lucas took a few of us on a ride upstream the east branch of the Penobscot to where the Seboas River comes in, and talked about being out there with the chairman of the Penobscot Nation, and how that was also their camp, and how he scooped up the soil there and could find, the chips from tool making. And there is a rich archaeological history here that is just beginning to be uncovered with the work with tribes that we hope. Anybody here from the Penobscot Nation or the Passamaquoddy? Maliseet, excuse me, Maliseet. Okay. You are? Oh, great. Tell you that the National Park Service looks forward to working with you and members of your community, not only on understanding the importance of this region and the history of the region, but also its current importance. You know, the gathering of plants, animals, and so on, and that's something that, with recent rule change in the National Park Service, we're facilitating across the country. So we had a pretty good day today. You know, we hiked up Barnard Mountain and looked over at Mount Katahdin, which was making its own weather with a pretty good lenticular cloud, and I thought, I'm glad I'm here and not up there today. And of course, Katahdin Lake, we drove along the loop trail. We did not get any flat tires, unlike some other people that are here today that I'll talk about a little later. We saw the beautiful Millinocket Lake from the overlook, and the investments that have already been put in here and the care that's already been put to these lands is incredible. So there is no question this monument has monumental significance for generations to come. Historical relevance, not only to Native communities, but to early explorers. One very famous one being, of course, President Teddy Roosevelt before he was president, where he lost a boot in Usatacook and did the rest of the hike in moccasins. The ecological and geological relevance of this area, whether it's being part of the International Appalachian Trail and part of Pangaea, that great continent that's split apart, or its importance for its spectacular woods, water, and wildlife, and its impact from climate change, which we're already seeing as the hardwood forests migrate up and the pine forests migrate up even further, and Lucas pointed some of that out on our hike today. It's got economic relevance. Certainly logging and timber and paper industry has been a very, very important part of its past, and to a certain extent will continue to be as we went by some operations. But outdoor recreation for the 4 seasons will also really come to life because of this monument, bringing that essence of Maine that people around the country know of to life in a place that is really spectacular. And as we hiked the trail today, we met a few people along the trail, and one gentleman hiking by himself with his dog said, yeah, you know, I kind of like to hike along these trails and find 0 people. How many are in your party? So we chatted for a while, and you know, I think he was very happy about the monument, but you know, he really enjoyed the solitude of the great outdoors. But he made a comment as we were breaking up, and he said, you know, I think if it wasn't for this, 100 years from now, this might be the only place you see the fall colors in May, here in Acadia. Now, I hope that's not the case for all kinds of reasons, and I don't think it will be, but its importance is hard to underestimate. And then, of course, the cultural relevance. This place inspired Henry David Thoreau. It's all mossy and moosey, right? And art through the masterpieces Birds of America by John James Audubon, or the contemporary artists like Anita and Mark of Moose Prints that I met last night and today. It's a place of inspiration, and I can certainly see why now that I've been up here. So, Elliotsville Plantation Incorporated, the name, I guess, of the first acquisition of all logging lands sold by willing sellers to Roxanne Quimby. I just want to point that out. Logging companies, timber companies sold their land because they're businesses. Roxanne understands business, I understand business. It wasn't economic for them to continue, and so they sold their land to her. And she had a vision for this area, founded on a deep seated understanding of this area, and I think a deep commitment to wanting to make a difference. Lucas St. Clair. If Roxanne is a yin, he's a bit of a yang, right? And the two of them together, Roxanne's business sense and generosity, and Lucas's shoe leather affinity for caffeine and cookies across the landscapes, And the employees and the supporters of EPI and this project are why we have this. And it's not the only example of philanthropy. This is building on a long-standing tradition, whether it's Rockefeller in Acadia and other places, David Rubenstein, patriotic philanthropy he's done. But I will say that the size and the complexity of this particular transaction and the adjustments that they made with regard to easements and listening to people in the region here is an incredible accomplishment and very noteworthy and really quite different from many of the other contributions. So I know they've been thanked many times and they will be over the course of the night, but please join me in another huge thank you for Roxanne and Lucas. It's not just 87,500 plus acres, and it is $20 million in private philanthropic support. We already have a wonderfully appointed visitor center, well, at least a contact center, and it has a ladder, and it has a sign in the window, and it has maps, and it has two very cheerful-looking park rangers. I'll say that what Roxanne and Lucas and the organization EPI brought us was a number of employees, but I want to call out two in particular. Mark and Susan Adams, the recreation. Hospitality and the cookies came from last night as well, and so my stomach was very, very happy. But it is employees of EPI who will become the first volunteers for the Park Service. We run very much not just in the blood, sweat, and toil of the National Park Service staff, but very much with a volunteer organization. And I would invite all of you to join in becoming volunteers and supporting this. It is very, very rewarding. We have about 10 volunteers for every Park Service staff across the entire country. So please, join us. People have already volunteered. Right there, right there. All right, we already have several. Thank you.
Here, I don't know where they all are.
They're all over.
These guys, definitely up there. They're here.
Susan's working all the time. So this newest monument really reaffirms two bedrock American principles. One is private property rights. People who own land can sell to others who own land. And then the people who own that land can do with them what they please, as long as it's obviously within the law. And so that's one bedrock principle here. And the other bedrock principle is that our parks and public lands are core to our national identity, and they are places that belong to all Americans. All Americans. That is a uniquely American idea, why the National Park Service is America's best idea. So that same spirit is, I know, rooted in communities throughout the Northeast and New England, and your engagement has been critical. We would also not be here without tireless work on behalf of several nonprofit organizations. One that I'm very familiar with because I was on the board for 9 years, and I heard Roxanne make the pitch. Actually, when we were in Acadia, I don't know how many years ago, but I think we'll hear here shortly. That was the National Parks Conservation Association. Could we give them a round of applause? Please sit down. Also joining them in this effort, the Wilderness Society, the National Park Foundation, and the Natural Resources Council of Maine. Let's give all of them a round of applause. And I also want to thank the men and women of the National Park Service, men and women of the National Park Service. John Jarvis was here, as you know, doing public meetings. He promised we'd have an office open if we did a monument quickly. We have that office open, so Tim Hudson and Christina Mark, raise your hands. were inspired by the Buffalo Soldiers, who were the first Rangers of the National Park Service, an all-black cavalry unit, back before the park system was founded. So there you go, a little bit of history for you. So they'll be listening to everybody in the neighborhood, many neighborhoods. They will be paying a lot of attention to all of you, saying, how do we make this monument a success? And you will see a lot of them, and they will eat a lot of cookies and drink a lot of coffee, and hopefully exercise in these beautiful public lands to keep the cookies at bay. I also want to acknowledge just a handful of other colleagues that are here, and there's many more behind the scenes. The author, primary author of the proclamation, who spent many sleepless nights, Molly Ross. My colleague, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Nikki Buffa, who did... my colleagues at the Council of Environmental Quality, who are also here, Michael Degnan and Drew McConville. Back in the back. So it really takes a village on our side, it takes a village on your side to make this happen. They're not represented here by the Department of Justice, getting this complicated easement stuff, got it across the finish line as well. So you will hear, I think starting September 12th, public listening sessions as we develop the management plan, but we will also be celebrating your work on an ongoing basis in promoting, supporting, and caring for these public lands. This is an incredible gift for conservation. It's a gift that I will come back and enjoy with my grandson and future generations as well. And because of this incredible gift of this beautiful region to all of us, this will be enjoyed by Americans and foreign visitors for years and years to come. So thank you all for this great